Hello, my name is Matthew Mowbrey, and today we're going to talk about how to pick a business name. And when we talk about a business name, there's certain elements that it has to have, and you can't pick any business name. There's a couple things you have to look out. So there's certain things that are banned, and so different jurisdictions will say, no, you cannot use that name. Or other people already have a name that is similar or so close to being similar that they'd be concerned that your name is simply going to trade off of their already established business. So the first step when we look at that is going to be, well, what does the Act say? In Alberta, we have the Business Corporations Act, covers corporate names amongst everything else. And so let's go down to Section 10. Let me use Canly. Canly is a great free resource for anybody that is looking up anything. And so business name, corporate name, Section 10. So it basically says that the word limited, incorporated, or corporation, or their abbreviation limited, Inc., or corp, have to be at the end of every single business. I point out that this is different than the United States, and they have completely different naming conventions. So sometimes when you're Googling something, you'll get something completely different. They have much more like ULCs and LLCs that are common. That's not the case in Canada. And again, in Alberta specifically, you just have one of those ending descriptors. I think you can have things like professional corporations, and you see that with things like accountants, doctors, lawyers. And then you also have to have a sufficiently description that defines the name. And then again, sets out if you don't have this or you don't file this by a certain way, the government will get after you for that. So how do you determine, okay, is my name valid or not? The next step then is, okay, well, what is that name going to be? And how do I make sure that it's not going to be competing with some other name, that it is going to be allowed? The first step is, okay, you can just have a numbered company, and you'll see those. And again, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Alberta Limited. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Saskatchewan Limited. They tend to be very similar. And when you're looking at that name, that's perfectly fine. If you wanted just not a random number, because you don't get to choose your number, the next thing that you need to do is you need to do something called a NUANS report. And a NUANS report is a newly upgraded automated name search. And it's not really new. It's been around for many, many years, but that's the name that it came out with. And no one uses that whole long name. They use the acronym NUANS. And a NUANS report will show you how is your name and whether your name is going to be copying someone else's and if other people have used it. The benefit of a NUANS report too is it's across Canada. So you'll know if someone in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, or Sydney, British Columbia, and everywhere in between, going all the way up to Alert, has used that name in creation of a business or a trade name, or has trademarked it. Those are all the things, again, that could be considered as passing off or some other complicating factor in choosing a name. So the best way of actually seeing that is, let's actually take a look at what a NUANS report is. And so something to keep in mind is when you reserve a name, you reserve it for 90 days. And this is an Alberta one, since that's where I ordered it from. And we just used Just a Random Company Name Limited. And so Just a Random Company Name Limited, again, has to have that limited on the end for a company. So it's really important to note. And when we look at the descriptor words, those descriptor words have to be something that stands out from someone else. When we're looking at some of these other examples, again, this was just a search, Just Brando. So again, it's in Alberta. It's a trade name. That's what the TN stands for. It was done on April 11th, 2016. Again, it says trade name. It says it's active. When you keep going down here, it says the Brando Company Limited. And it says it was, again, in Alberta, even gives the city, which is Red Deer, is a business corporation, and it was struck in 2018. So as you go through just another random company, it's sufficiently different when you look at some of these other things. As we're scrolling down here, so for example, Random Act Limited. This is a Canadian company under the Canadian Business Corporation Act, and it's been dissolved in April 19th of 2023. And so again, depending on the name that you pick, and particularly if you're only using 1 or 2 descriptive words, you can imagine if your name was like Random Work Inc. You had all of these other names here that are coming up that have the word random, that would have the word work in it. And what you wouldn't want is something that's going to be very complex or could be used and could be confusing to people. And so again, just kind of scrolling down, you can see a few. You start getting, again, these are all ones that are in Alberta. They show mostly trade names. There's a partnership though, Random Task Renovations, that's still active from 2008. Random Walk Trading Inc. is again a Canadian one, lots of business names. Society. So a society, again, is something, for the benefit of everyone, education, as a charity as examples. And this is Alberta Rand Max Foundation. So again, but the point of this is, do any of these names confuse people or would otherwise lead people to believe that your name is so similar with theirs, regardless of where they are in Canada, because this is Canadian-wide, such that they would do business with you, mistaking it for someone else? Again, at just a random company name limited, it has enough unique identifiers within that. There's nothing even coming close to it. So when we're talking about a business name, why does this matter? Like, what are the actual implications of this? What if I chose a name that was confusing or that seemed like I was passing off or trading on the business for others? Well, the problem is you could get sued. The first thing that you would get is likely a cease and desist letter that says, hi, look, my registered business name or my registered trademark is similar to yours, and we think that you are confusing people, or we think that you're trading off on our goodwill that we've developed with our customers, and we want you to stop. If you don't, we will sue you. And so there are torts that deal with just with this, and one of them is called passing off. And one of the things about passing off is, is one good similar to another, and how do they relate to each other? And it doesn't apply just to business names. It can also apply to logos and designs and that sort of thing if there can be confusion over them. The one example I think of quite a bit, because you see it quite a bit, are pet stores. Just look at pet stores and all the logos that they have and the different names, and you can see how that can get really confusing if you didn't know that Pet Value is different than Pet Smart, and then you have one that's called like Pet Value Smart, as an example. So again, you could see where one customer like, well, is the owner of that the same owner as this? And that's why I'm going to, because I know Joe and he's the owner. So that is the biggest risk, is that you could set up this, you could put all this time and all this energy into setting up a brand, not to mention money and doing all the logo design, website, materials, brochures, bags, etc. Just have someone send you a letter that says, hi, look, your name's too similar. Just go and talk to a lawyer that says, yeah, it is probably pretty similar, to kind of then figure out you have to rebrand everything. The cost of a NUANS report varies depending on where you can get it. You can get it from a registry office, but you can get it online, typically fairly quickly, between $25 to $60. So it's fairly economical to do so. So again, highly recommend when picking a name, you have an idea, do a NUANS report on it. If you're looking at it, use your common sense. Is this so similar to something else listed on there? If it's not, you're fine. If it is, or you're even thinking about, well, it could be, just pick another name, do another NUANS report. You'll be better off for it now versus, again, being sued 6 months, a year when someone that owns that name finds out about it.